I can't believe I'm saying this, but I would rather rewatch the entirety of the Rings of Power than another minute of Witcher Blood Origin. Even in a year that abounds with awful television, this is the worst show of 2022. It makes She-Hulk look cute. It makes Rings of Power look like it was trying. By comparison, it makes Resident Evil and Halo look like thoroughly faithful adaptations. Oh heavens. Witcher Blood Origins is a show that is both far, far too long, making every minute feel like unceasing, unending torture, and yet also a show that is far, far too short for the 13 plus storylines crammed into its 4 bloated episodes. The word disaster loses all meaning ahead of this absolute wreckage of a show, which absolutely, unironically, fully deserves its 7% audience rating. Normally, you would expect at least some hyperbole in a rating that unfathomably low, but no, it actually does deserve it. The acting is difficult to describe, like a third-rate high school play, with Sophia Brown as Ellie and Lenny Henry as Baylor providing particularly poor performances. You can practically hear the ringtone as they phone in their performances. No shit, Lenny Henry's performance in this makes me miss his performance in The Rings of Power. You know, Amazon's long game here might actually pay off. A few more shows that are like this, and I will actually be singing The Rings of Power's praise. As the only good thing about this show was that it has now finally proven, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that the only reason The Witcher got a second season was because of Henry Cavill. The man carried the show single-handedly, and Blood Origin is proof of that. Even as, of course, now that they have been freed from Henry Cavill's constant nagging insistence that maybe they should give a crap about the source material, we get this. A prequel story that actively tries to destroy The Witcher. Let me just... It almost feels like it isn't worth harping on about it, because this is simply what every single show does these days, as if it was some kind of legal requirement. For example, the main character, the focal point of the Witcher series, The Witchers, are completely and radically remade here. They were not a product of humans ending up after the conjuncture of the spheres in a hostile world and needing to defend themselves against monsters that they were ill-suited to fight against, being too soft, too weak, and too slow to fight them effectively. The Witchers were not a product of years of trial and error, of experimentation, of magical, mysterious nonsense. No. The first Witcher was an elf. And he was created in the span of a couple hours. by a couple of other elven mages who understood inherently somehow that the monster that had been summoned previously in the show could only be defeated by a Witcher, and so they had to make one. Hell, the conjuncture of the spheres, you know, the entire huge event that practically defines the Witcher's universe, that just happened by accident. That was There was an unexpected side plot of the 13 other plots in the show. That was an accident that takes up a grand total of 10 seconds of screen time, I think. And, of course, the elves and the humans both arrive on the new continent at the same time, too. Just to make absolutely sure that no part of the original lore remains unfucked. Oh, and speaking of fucking, Ciri, the reason why she's special is because a black elf had some hot, dirty, mutant sex with the first elf witcher, and thus her descendant would eventually become Ciri. Yeah, because, why? Because it undermines everything you know. That's why. Because it takes all of the things in the Witcher universe and either shoves it out of the way, trivializes it, or replaces it with something else that the new author has invented. This is the law these days. It happens in Rings of Power, it happened in Halo, it is happening to The Witcher, it is happening in Star Wars, it is happening to every single franchise. The old must die, as they say, as a new generation of screenwriters and soulless corporate hacks are moving in and attempting to claim the things that we once loved. That's what's happening here. They see something that has a following, like The Witcher, like Star Wars, like Halo, like countless other franchises, and they go, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I was that popular? I'm just gonna take this, but you know what? I don't actually like this thing, because in fact, this show, Blood Origins, was spawned, quote, from the frustrations of the writing team. Just let that sink in for just a second there. And, of course, they couldn't do better. They didn't know how to do better. And so all they've achieved is creating hours of torturous, subversive shit without a point, without a storyline, without a reason for existence other than to try and destroy something else. And by God, I think they've succeeded across the board. Because here's the thing, The Witcher is the same as the Rings of Power. It is the same as the Wheel of Time. If I put these screenshots up next to each other, all you see are dirty, scruffy-looking Californians. That is it. It is a ridiculous diversity panel of every single current year, modern day race and ethnicity wearing the same shitty, dirty, unfantasy, uninteresting looking rags. All of the fantasy from fantasy has been completely stripped from this setting and every other. And I remind you as well, all of the characters in Blood Origins are supposed to be elves. They are all supposed to be non-human, except for the one dwarf, and yet, except for the dwarf, not a single one of them feels like they are anything but modern-day humans. And worse still, modern-day humans on a television set. The show... I actually have a hard time fathoming it, but the show begins by taking the piss out of itself.
Let me guess. A bunch of warriors join forces to fight against all odds. It has been done to death.
Explaining that this has been done to death and there is nothing original or interesting here whatsoever. There is even a scene where two of the characters are having a leisurely bath together as they are discussing the, at the time, completely irrelevant to their grand plan characters as if they were TV show characters. Where they're like, well, you know, they've got a pretty good plot going on there. That plot could ruin our evil plans. Jesus. It's like they just turned the camera on when the actors were in the bath discussing the ass-backwards plot and decided to roll with it. This absolute pile of flaming garbage is counter-television. It is anti-entertainment. It takes a thing and it just destroys it. It just annihilates it, wipes it out from existence. It is something so thoroughly unenjoyable, it actually just destroys time. It's a black hole. An anomaly of film. A scientific mystery that warps space to the point where the rings of power starts looking appealing. And I would legitimately urge you to sooner sodomize a hornet's nest than expose yourself to this crime against the history of movies, of television, of books, of cave paintings, of entertainment as an art form, nay, as a concept. And so all I will say at the end is, The Witcher is dead. Long may it stay buried, and long live the new king, Henry Cavill. Because if he managed to save The Witcher, surely 40k should prove little challenge to him. Until next time, I have been Arch, and I need a long shower, preferably in the fetal position now. Have a good day.